MAGA is revolting against Donald Trump, and it is not just the Republicans in Congress, it is not just his Republican base, but it's something much deeper and much more damaging, and that is his Republican propaganda apparatus. On a day like today, when Donald Trump exposes his depravity with the attack, the disgusting post he made about Rob Reiner and his wife, it is when MAGA is face down with the truth of Donald Trump, not the spin that Ben Shapiro gives them, the spin that Megyn Kelly gives them, or the spin that Jesse Waters gives them, the real, disgusting, depraved Donald Trump. And they hate it, and everybody should. And not just the voters, but the hosts at Fox, who called out Donald Trump live on air today for his disgusting post, and Trump is freaking out. We are going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into the hosts at Fox, I want to start with someone who shared an incredibly touching and important memory of Rob Reiner, and that was a real leader in our country, Gavin Newsom, who had this to say right here.
And the off-topic one is, can you expand upon your feelings about Rob Reiner and his impact on California, on politics, on the Democratic Party, and your relationship with him?
Well, just on that, because you hit my heartstrings. I was on a Zoom with the Reiners just a few weeks back, and had this wonderful conversation, comparing notes, and was just reminded about how consistent they've been, how constant they've been in the cause of not just protecting democracy, but promoting well-being, social justice, racial justice, economic justice. When, Alex, I was out there feeling a little alone doing same-sex marriage in 2004, it was Rob who reached out. That's how I got to know him, saying he had my back at a time when a lot of members of my own party, the Democratic Party, didn't. And so he's been a friend for decades, and he's actually was their co-host on an event that I'm doing later this week. So it just breaks my heart, and I don't know enough. We don't know enough, but if indeed, an own member of their own family, how do you unpack that? And that just hits home in every way, shape, or form in terms of again what we're even fighting for here today, and just trying to continue to lead by example. But anyway, my heart goes out to his family and this terrible tragedy. As it relates to this,
for as incredible of an activist as he was, Rob Reiner was not a political figure. Advocating for democracy, for people's right to vote, for basic human rights, that's not playing politics. That is being a citizen in a country you want to see made better. There was nothing controversial of what Rob Reiner was doing, what he was standing up for. He made great art that people loved. He was an incredible director and actor. He was an incredible member of his community. He was not a controversial podcaster. He was not some right-wing grifter. There is no reason for anyone to have malice against him except for the fact that he spoke out against Donald Trump. And that was his job as a citizen, was to speak out against Donald Trump, was to stand up for democracy. And so the right's equivocation with the left's response to Charlie Kirk calling out his racism and Donald Trump saying he's happy a man and his wife had their lives taken is nonsensical to me, especially when Rob Reiner had this to say after Charlie Kirk was killed, before we get into how Fox responded to Trump's post.
When you first heard about the murder of Charlie Kirk, what was your immediate gut reaction to it?
Well, horror, absolute horror. And I unfortunately saw the video of it, and it's beyond belief what happened to him, and that should never happen to anybody. I don't care what your political beliefs are. That's not acceptable.
People on the left, and myself included, had every right to paint the full picture of Charlie Kirk after he was killed. A bigot, a grifter, someone who helped get a fascist in office. We had every right to do so. But what Rob Reiner said was speaking from a place outside of politics, again, where he operated. That is not to take away from the obvious fact of his incredible history of activism and advocacy. That is all to say that this is not a man who should be lumped in with a political class in a way that you can say the right has a right to attack his record. He has no record. He stood up for democracy. He advocated for human decency. He called out a bully when he saw it. You can't say this was a left-wing, raging liberal. No, he was a person who made great art for us to consume and wanted our country to be better. You can't say he was the opposite side of Charlie Kirk. It's why all of these attacks and obfuscations and reasons that the right gives for why it was okay for Trump to say what he did, because look at what the left said about Charlie Kirk, is so fucking stupid to me. And it's easy to see right past that bullshit, because clearly the host at Fox did, and what I guess shouldn't be a surprise today when MAGA is revolting, but they had a lot to say about Donald Trump's post.
Meantime, there are Trump supporters out posting criticism. Robbie Starbuck, he's a conservative a supporter of the president. What happened last night to Rob Reiner and his wife was a savage butchering of two human lives. I don't care what their politics were or how they felt about Trump. No law-abiding human deserves this. We should pray for and send condolences to his loved ones and not make it political. Here's Senator John Kennedy.
I don't think the president should have commented. When the president says this kind of stuff, it detracts from his policy achievements and from his agenda.
So he's getting pushback, Guy.
As he should. There's a time and a place for politics and for trolling. A man being viciously murdered along with his wife, allegedly at the hand of their own son, is not that time or that place. And for the president to have put this out the way that he did achieves nothing and reflects poorly.
And Steph, he did put it out, and then he was asked about it and said basically the same thing publicly.
Yeah, Trump has continued to double down on his comments despite, hearing from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle who have been pretty clear in condemning the president's tone. And it is unfortunate to have the president of the United States taking a tragedy like this and inserting politics into a situation as sad as the one that led to the Reiner's death, especially after the year we've had, especially after, political violence has been such a big issue this year, whether it was the killing of the state lawmakers in Minnesota earlier this year to the killing of Charlie Kirk. This has been a conversation, so it is unfortunate, especially after a weekend of so much tragic news, that we would hear from the President of the United States and that he would decide to insert politics into this discussion.
We'll see where it goes from here. Panel, thanks. Stan.
This shouldn't be a tough one. It's not a hard call. I also, as I stated earlier, am a little annoyed with this idea that the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the Thomas Masseys, the Piers Morgans, as we will get to in a second, because I think Piers did a good job of shutting down the MAGA mouthpieces on his show today when the issue of Rob Reiner came up, Donald Trump's post. I get a little annoyed that they get praise heaped upon them in many ways that allows them to continue their line of bullshit, that if they just take a moment and reassert themselves into reality, then they get this kind of protective shield, right? You know what I mean? You can be a batshit crazy Republican voting against free school lunch, voting against a woman's right to choose, backing Donald Trump at every turn. But if you take yourself out of the MAGAverse and put yourself into reality, you kind of get this protective coating we give these people, where we then pretend, for a period of time, of course, and it does run out, that they are these good faith actors. If you just step out into reality a little bit, we pretend like you're a real person. But these Fox hosts, they aren't. They still live in the MAGA world. They talk in the MAGA language. Marjorie Taylor Greene isn't normal. They don't care. And so I challenge us to look past the protective shield of normalcy that they get to buy themselves for a couple of minutes and say, yeah, of course Fox hosts should be responding this way if they're people, if they have any feeling inside of them. Because for us to say, wow, they're speaking out, great job, is not what it should be. It should be, I can't believe it took this for them to call him out. I can't believe they have been hiding their heads in the sand, trying to cover the blasting light that is the hot white anger and vitriol and bigotry of Trump every day. And that they have been doing this, putting little horsey blinders on their little MAGA sea biscuits. I don't know what this analogy is. As they try to propagandize to them what Donald Trump is. Right? And they try to distort the view. Because that's why there's so many people who in a moment like this go, oh my God, I can't believe he said that, because they don't know that that's the true Trump, because Ben Shapiro and Megyn Kelly and Jesse Waters hide it from them. They do. They do spin professionally. It's their job, their state media. And so I don't really want to give them a cookie when they take those blinders off for a moment, because it is a singular moment before they go back into MAGA world. And nothing real is happening in MAGA world. But I will enjoy the moments in which a little bit of truth seeps out, like we saw from Piers Morgan right here.
As Julian said,
Well, it sounds like Donald Trump is getting. Yeah, but look, it does sound like
I don't think so.
He's getting pretty close to it. I mean, when he says that, you know, he got killed reportedly due to the anger he caused others with his mind-crippling disease, Trump derangement syndrome. There is zero evidence for any of that. He got killed by his deeply disturbed son after what the TMZ and New York Post and others are reporting was a terrible family argument. The son, Nick, who's now 32, was a screenwriter who battled and talked openly about, made a film about drug addiction, homelessness, and so on. But apparently, you know, used whatever kind of implement to slit the throats of his parents.
Yeah.
You know, I
hear you. I'm not justifying it.
So
I'm not saying that.
I don't think there's any political motivation for this attack whatsoever. But Donald Trump has made it political by inferring very clearly that this happened because Rob Reiner attacked him.
You have got a little taste of it, friends, of reality, of empathy, of humanity. Please keep gnawing on it. Please keep trying at it. Please keep, pulling that string. And maybe all of it will unwind itself before your eyes, and you can understand that Trump has always been this way. He always is this way. He will continue to be this way. And then maybe you can be a part of that coalition that calls him out. I'm not expecting it. I'm not holding out hope, but I'm going to push. And if you want to support that on this show every single day, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.